Welcome to Paranormal Almanac with your host, Kurt Sandvik.
That's right. I'm your host, Kurt Sandvik, and on this week's edition of Paranormal Almanac, I'm going to be talking with Chris Ramsay. Yeah, it's incredible. But first, as always, we have shout-outs. That's right. Shout-outs going out to the patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/paranormal-almanac. No, wait, /paranormal almanac. Just that. Patreon.com/paranormal almanac for all your patron activity. Additional episodes, a lot of stuff. It's fun. It's great. They're a great community. Go over there. Do it. It's fantastic. Plus, it helps me because I am desperately trying to buy this DJI camera that everybody, in fact, I think Chris Ramsay even uses it in on his Monroe Institute videos, this $600 camera. That money for the Patreon is helping me to purchase that so that I can do my own relatively new idea for a paranormal show that I've been wanting to do for a while, that I want to finally get off the ground and go do it, where I go to the local bars in Los Angeles, local to me, starting there, and then I'll start spreading out across the country and around the world. We'll see. But go to the bars, these haunted bars, talk to the employees that work at the bar or the regulars that go to the bars about the ghosts, about their experiences. Who do they think they are? Where do they think they came from? Then find out what the signature drink is for that bar. And then, as hopefully all of you know, I've got a tiki bar right back there that I've spent a lot of time, not money, but time into building. And then I'm going to show you how to make that signature drink. It's exciting to me. I hope it's exciting to you guys. I hope you think it's a good idea because I'm going to do it anyway. But the Patreon, that's where I'm going to get the money to buy the camera, buy the microphone, the DJI microphone, that is needed to go there into these low light scenarios, these low light locations, these bars, and have a good video quality, but more importantly to me, good audio quality, or I guess equally important to me, good audio quality. So you can thank the patrons. Without them, this show wouldn't happen. That is the damnedest God's honest truth. Shout outs going out to, and I'm doing this on video. It makes me a little nervous because here we go. Let's do this. Shout outs to Leviathan, the Wicked One, Scott Mills. Hey, he's calling himself the Wicked One, not me. Ilsaid, Brian, Heather G's, Jeffrey B, Scott, Johnny the Pommy, hey, howdy, hi, Matt Lower, JT, Doogie Hoare, Mike G, Tracy B, Jeff Lightfoot, hey, howdy, hi, Richard, Lori, Alec, Karen Duran, Lori, Rebecca, and Stephen Scher, hey, howdy, hi, Jane Ann, Jennifer, Heather G, your friendly neighborhood skinwalker, Zuzus, what's it, Nico Sharon the Mouse, Mark and Tina, Tortuga, Mike from Jersey, Jay Bizzle, Andy, Tracy Samonic, hey, howdy, hi, Virginia Mailman, Tony the Magician, Jason, Vicky, Crow, Libido Works, Glacier Main, Isabel, Jen, Stacy, Amber, Tracy, Kelly Joe, Menace the Beast, Sandy. Got to go to page 2. Hold on. Paige, Couch, Batman666, Scott, Andrea, Melody, Vanessa, Marisol, Becca, Jake, Charlotte, and the Beasties, Elizabeth, Sherry, Art Muffin, Tim, Kenneth, Alexandra, George Benson, Zozo the Demon, Hayden, Cindy, Ashley, Carrie, Robin, Will, Lauren, Russell, Isabel, Audra, Dorian, Cindy, Paula, Jerry, Jeff T, Joe, Lawrence, the Lawrence Strawn, hey, hi, Veronica, Autumn, J Mark, Jade, Nanashi, Todd, Jamie, and Elijah Hendrickson, Dan, Laura Pitts, and Gamer Fan. Hold on, I got to switch over. Thank you all with 2 special shout outs, as always, to Joe Teague. I really miss you, buddy. And to my boy Stitch. I really miss you, Stitch. 2 special shout outs, as always. Never going to miss them. All right, let's get into a very, very short paranormal news. And the reason I say it's short is because I want to get right into this interview. This was an interview that I was hoping would happen. I was like, you know what? Finally, I'm going to email Chris Ramsay. Before we get into paranormal news, let me tell you how this episode came about. I followed Chris Ramsay's work for a while, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Got me through the pandemic. It was entertaining as hell. Seems like a cool as hell guy. And then he started working on this other show. From puzzles, he went over to Area 52 and started working on this new show. And the quality of this new show, we talk about it a little bit, or he talks about it a little bit in the chat about X-Files. And that's what it really reminded me of. It is a high quality, brilliant documentary style paranormal show, for lack of better terms, paranormal show. And I was like, oh my God, hell yeah. Been watching it, been listening to the Debrief podcast, been absolutely loving his work. And then finally I was like, you know what? I kind of do want to reach out to him. See what happens. If, worst case scenario, I never hear back. Best case scenario, says, no, sorry, too busy, can't, whatever. He immediately responded, yeah, let's do this. Let's chat. And it was everything I wanted and then some. But let's get into a very short paranormal news, because I want to get into this. I want to hear the interview again, and I want you to hear the interview. So let's do paranormal news. Oh God, I'm going to be on camera during this whole time.
Ghost and demons that haunt the night. Strange objects fly through the sky. The shadow people are spending the night again. Black-eyed children knock on my door. A portal to hell opens in my room. The time travel man says the world is changing soon.
Don't fucking shoot Bigfoot.
Paranormal.
Hey, alrighty, I'm back. It dawned on me, I'm like, I'm gonna have to sit through this intro on video. But you know what? It's a damn good intro. I need to present something. So let me share my screen. There we go. All righty. The first story in paranormal news. See for yourself. Alabama ghost captured on doorbell camera. I know you might not be ready for the supernatural scary stuff yet. Yes, I am. But this is happening. Believe what you believe, but the video will make you think. All righty. I want to see the video. And God bless America. They better have a video connected to this. Here we go. All righty. Let's watch the video. It says, hello, my name is Scott, and I have a camera on my front porch. I picked this up today at 3:22 p.m. Could someone please explain this to me? Oh, all right. Well, that's interesting. I need to watch that again. That part is very interesting. Now, I will say that depending on how long you've had your Ring cameras, your, whatever outdoor camera, blink camera, whatever it is, they can ghost in an image. That doesn't mean there's a ghost in the image. They can ghost in an image. And that might just be what we're seeing. We're seeing a ghost image or a delayed image. I don't know what this guy Scott looks like. My guess is, and it's just a guess, is that it's a ghosted image. Unless he was saying that, nobody was home. Let's see. You'll hear the door open and close. Then a shadow moves right in front of the camera. Then it just vanishes. I mean, I can't say it's not. I'll be honest. I can't say it's not a ghost, but I can't say it is a ghost. Could be, might not be. All righty. Let's go to the next story in paranormal news. Boy, if that was the actual image, there we go. City object sighted over city in Brazil riles up UFO fans. 2 videos show a triangular object in the skies over the city of Curitiba, a hotspot for UFO activity. All righty, let's go to the video. That's all I'm caring about. Yeah, that's a UFO. That is legit a UFO, an unidentified flying object. I don't know what that is. It's a neat video, I'll be honest. If it shoots off, then I'll be amazed. If it just does that, floating like a balloon, that's neat, but not quite as impressive. It's getting to the end of the video. All right. So it does just float. It doesn't do much. Says the second video provides an even clearer. Here we go. Let's see if this is the second video that provides even clearer. I mean, that is really bizarre look. That is really bizarre looking. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just kind of floating there. It's not shooting off. It's not taking off at incredible speeds. What do you guys think? I'll leave that up to you guys. This is another one of these. What do you guys think? UFO, weather balloon, a hoax? I don't know. They say that the armchair analysts support over every frame, noting how the object appears to inflate and deflate as it moves. All right, it's neat. I'll give them that. It's very neat. All right, before we actually get into the rest of the stuff, that's it for paranormal news. I just wanted to do two quick ones before we move on to the actual conversation with Chris Ramsay. But speaking of Chris Ramsay, do yourself a favor. Head on over to Area 2 Investigations on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@Area52 Investigations. I'll put it in the description below. Here's what it looks like. If you can find Chris Ramsay, you can find it. Absolutely incredible work. This one from last night was fantastic. The Debrief podcast, fantastic. Debriefed podcast, fantastic. I got to tell you, the Gateway program, I mean, these are topics I'm, as you all know, more than interested in, and he does it so brilliantly, so cinematically. The production value is incredible. So do yourself a favor, pause this one right now, head on over to youtube.com/@Area52 Investigations. Make sure you like and subscribe it like I do. Like and subscribe. Not only that, while you're there, why don't you find Paranormal Almanac on YouTube as well? Like and subscribe to that one. And then there's one other thing that I kind of want to talk about. I'll be talking about it in just a minute. It's called ProjectGravitar.com. ProjectGravitar.com. Again, I'll throw it in the descriptions as well. But that's about it for that fun stuff. Let's get back to me. Yeah, we're on me now. There we go. That's me. Alrighty. I gotta say, man. Well, actually, let me do all the fun stuff first. That was weird. I got a thing saying that my mic was unplugged. God, I hope this is actually recording. Seems like it, right? I don't know. We'll find out at the end of this if I have to redo this whole flipping thing. Should be fun. Okay. But that about does it for paranormal news. For merch, head on over to tpublic.com/stores/paranormal-almanac. That's tpublic.com/stores/paranormal-almanac. All the proceeds that I get from these from the merch is going towards that DJI camera as well. It's a little gimbal camera. It's freaking amazing. Head on over to YouTube. I just told you it. Paranormal Almanac. Let's take a quick break. 2-second break. We'll be right back in just a second.
Paranormal.
Oh, come on. There we go. We are back. I am so excited to. I've talked about his work before, but this weekend, again, I was lucky enough to chat with YouTuber, magician, Area 52 on YouTube host, Chris Ramsay. That at Area 52 Investigations, that host, that Chris Ramsay? Yes. I was so excited to chat with him. Area 52 is honestly what I would love to do pretty much. It's almost identical to what I would love to do, Paranormal Almanac would be slightly different, but I mean, the quality wise and going around and chatting, going around the world and chatting with the people, that's what I'm talking about. It's what I would love to do if I had the time and the money to do it. He is talking about the paranormal in the best way possible. He looks at it from all sides. He talks with the people that are actually involved with the topics. And man, does he get some interviews with people that are virtually impossible to interview. Well, you'll hear more about that when in the actual chat with them. But seriously, I know I've said it before. Pause right here. Take a quick second. Pause right here. Go subscribe and like to @Area 52 Investigations on YouTube. He's not paying me to say it. I'm gladly saying it because I need you guys to see this incredible work. Like I said, it'll be in the description. Do it after if you have to. Seriously, go watch his shows, his documentaries. They're brilliant. They're the highest quality cinematic documentaries about the paranormal. The best ones that I've seen in years. They're absolutely incredible. But Chris was nice enough to sit down with me, chat all things paranormal. And yeah, we lost connection a couple of times and there was some technical difficulties. That's to be expected. But this has to be one of my favorite conversations that I've had doing this show so far. And that's not an exaggeration. It's not a joke. One thing that Chris talks about pretty late in our chat is the Bob Lazar Project Gravatar, that thing I was talking about just a minute ago. So go to projectgravatar.com. It'll be in the descriptions. The connection got a little funky right then. He lost some connection just then. So I want to make sure you all know to go check out Project Gravatar. And it's when I asked him about one of my favorite puzzles they ever did. It's towards the end of the conversation, but I wanted to make sure that was very clear. Go check it out. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it as well. Like I said, Chris has another YouTube channel. It's where he solves these incredibly detailed puzzles, and he also teaches you magic tricks, which is way cool. I wish I had the ability to learn 5 or 6 really cool magic tricks. A couple of buddies of mine that I just had over in the Tiki Bar recently, we were talking about Chris Ramsay actually, and when they were here, they're magicians. They go to the Magic Castle. I'm in Burbank. Magic Castle's really close by. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's in Hollywood. It's one of my favorite places to go. No joke. It's so much fun. It's so cool to have these incredible magicians spread out throughout the castle, close-up magicians. Like you're within, I don't know, a foot, and they're making shit disappear. Stuff that shouldn't happen. And I used to go there with my buddy Joe, the one I do the shout-outs to when he was still with us. And, you know, Joe was a magician as well, an amateur magician. And, you know, when we would go, I'd look over at Joe because I'm like, I'm amazed. And I'd look over at Joe and he smiles looking in a different spot on the table, meaning that he knows the trick, but it's done so well that even he was like, ah, you got me. That was good. And that's what I like. Chris Ramsay actually does that in a few videos as well. He shows some of his favorite magic tricks. And I like it when magicians get excited or are impressed with other magicians, because to me, it is literally magic. I don't know how they're doing it. They're making shit disappear and appear, or guessing names and numbers and doing like a lot of the psychic tricks that I've talked about before, where I know when I went to that Burbank thing, that Burbank Psychic Fair, whatever it was called, and the woman was just doing cold readings. I know enough to know, oh, you're doing a cold reading, and she wasn't doing it well. But when magicians do it well, do those cold readings well, that's impressive. That's amazing. That is magic. But when they're also making shit disappear right in front of me, or you know, like, hey, it's in your pocket now. All right, how'd you do that? I don't get it. I love it. But like I say, Chris does a YouTube channel. Chris Ramsay does a YouTube channel that is all about puzzles. I stumbled across it during the pandemic, and they were so entertaining that it really got me through the pandemic. And to this day, I get excited when I see he posts a new puzzle video. But then this guy whose work I already admire starts this other channel @Area 52 Investigations. And I was like, all right, is he doing it as a magician where he's going to kind of trick me into stuff? Yeah, I'll watch it. Let's see what happens. And then I tune into the first one and I was like, oh no, he's not. He's using his magician skills, in my opinion, to see if is this a trick? Is this real? How are they doing this? But he's talking about paranormal stuff. The way that I talk to friends at bars and dates when they want to listen to me, when they're just like, I don't want to talk about ghosts anymore. I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up. You got to hear this about this ghost. He's talking to people about the paranormal like I do, conversationally, hearing what they have to say and then making up his own mind about it. And he does too. I mean, it's not just like a snow job where they say it and at the end he just goes, all right, they said it. No, there's times on the debrief podcast where he goes, I wasn't sure about that one, but I did appreciate this. And that's what I like. As you know, one of my favorite things to do on this show is to debunk things I can debunk, to find those internet rumors that have just been regurgitated and regurgitated and regurgitated, and to debunk them and go, nope, that's bullshit. Because once you get all that bullshit out of the way, if there's still paranormal stuff there, that's the stuff I'm interested in, the unexplained. And I won't speak for him, but that seems to me, that's kind of what he's doing. Like I said, I'm hooked. I don't have a lot of free time, as you all know. But when a new episode of his comes out, yep, I'm finding the free time. I'm taking that free time. I'm making that free time to watch Area 52 because honestly, that's how good it is. I will say that Chris said something in passing during our conversation, and it wasn't about me. It wasn't even really necessarily to me, I don't think, but he said something in passing that reminded me that it's fine to be skeptical, but me looking at something or someone more often with immediate bias based on things I've read online or seen in interviews with them, it's not the right way for me to do it. And, I am and always will be a skeptical believer, but I do need to stop and pause and find out for myself a little bit more than I do for that. And, it reminded me that it's okay to be a skeptical believer, but don't listen to the bias. And like I said, he wasn't saying that about me or necessarily to me, but it was something that stuck with me afterwards. I was thinking about our conversation and I was like, yeah, you know what? I got to thank Chris for that. So Chris, if you're watching this, thank you for that. And also for chatting with me. You have an open invitation to be on my show anytime. It was a treat. You took so much of your free time to chat with me yesterday, and I genuinely appreciate it, especially when I found out on your Instagram that, you were barbecuing and slow roasting meat and stuff. You had other things that you should have been doing to enjoy your Saturday, but yet you took the time to chat with me. Even through the technical difficulties, we reconnected in the interview, which you guys will hear in a minute. Thank you, sir. Fantastic. If you're ever out in Los Angeles, let's go get dinner or drinks or whatever you like. Or go to the Magic Castle. That'd be amazing. But anyhow, with that, enjoy this interview, conversation, chat, whatever you want to call it, with Chris Ramsay, Area 52 Investigations on YouTube. Please, it's free to do. It takes 2 seconds. Like and subscribe it. It's worth it. Trust me. I'll see you on the other side of this conversation. All right. Cool. First of all, again, I know I've said it to you numerous times. I'm a huge fan of your work. Your puzzle content got me through the pandemic, and it's not a joke. Fantastic work. The quality of your videos is absolutely incredible. And I'm so happy to see that Area 52 is surpassing even that quality. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. My favorite part about Area 52 is you're a magician. You know about like misdirection and when to look, where to look, like how to see when people are being tricked. Did you use any of those skills to try and either debunk the UFOs, the paranormal, or the people that you're interviewing?
Yeah, there's the way that I see it, I always have I have this sort of protocol in mind that I've sort of come up with, which is I see it as letting people into my house. And if I don't know you, like you can't come in. And so as far as like remote viewing goes, I look at that with a definite, skeptical eye because I feel like I can reproduce all of these things using trickery.
Sure.
Which I can, right? And that has to be said. And I can fool people into thinking I have psychic powers like that, but that isn't what the whole thing is. The thing is, for years and years and years, these things were funded. And so there's got to be something to it. So going in there, I learned that there is something to it. Now, definitively, I can't say what, but enough for, the research that was put out by Dr. May and for the government to have just a ton of just really relevant scientific research that's been done proving that there is something to this phenomenon. And for everyone, who thinks, oh, why don't we heard about it? Well, because you got to go look for it. It's not, mainstream, but it is out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So after getting to know remote viewing, I said, okay, remote viewing, you can come inside. You can come into my house. I know you, we've gotten to know each other. You can come hang out. And then, then OBE starts knocking. And at first I'm like, I don't know if I know you. I don't know if I want to let you in. You can hang outside if you want. But then I got to know OBE as I had several out-of-body experiences. And they were exactly what was described by Robert Monroe. They were exactly how tens of thousands of people across the world described them to be, which is, something extra, something different. It wasn't a lucid dream. I've been lucid dreaming since I was a kid. So it's very, very different. And so I got to know out-of-body experiences, and I was like, you can come in. Now you can come in because I know you. But frankly, Bigfoot, you're going to have to stay outside. I don't know you. My friends said they saw you. They vouched for you, but I can't take that. I got to get to know you before I let you into my house. And so that's kind of the protocol that I've taken with all of this. And of course I use, that skeptic magician's mind, but I don't want to be so skeptic that I don't let anything in. And I think that's the problem with a lot of skeptics. I went from, I was raised Catholic, wasn't very strict Catholicism by any means, or Christianity. Through that became atheist because I became a magician. And I think every magician sort of has this arc where you're all of a sudden, I got right here, I got all the, all the Penn and Teller books. All the sort of, atheism, hoorah, and all that stuff. So I went down that path and then turned into an agnostic, which is more along the lines of, I don't care. You guys figure it out. I'm just happy to be here. And now I'm finding myself more along this weird spiritual path that I never thought I would be going down. It has nothing to do with religion. But something extra. I can't explain it.
Yeah, that's the thing that really impressed me with your I believe your latest video, that you seem to have this life-changing moment when you started down the path of OBE and remote viewing. Did you expect that to happen at all? And if you have the ability, to tell me what changed in you?
Yeah, I obviously didn't expect it. And this whole endeavor for me, this Area 52 was it wasn't meant to be this James Randi-esque, which a lot of people in the magic community have been vocal about towards me and been like, well, why aren't you doing it like James Randi with all these tests? And I'm like, because that doesn't interest me. I'm not in here to be a naysayer and a skeptic. I'm here to be open to everything. And then I'll make my decision once I experience something, right? And with that attitude came this sort of enlightening moment that I had through the Gateway experience specifically. And, seeing myself lying in my own bed, that changes you. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And for anybody who's had this experience knows very well what I'm talking about. But if you haven't had the experience, of course it sounds ridiculous. And I understand that. I went from not believing to knowing. I skipped believing entirely. Yeah. And so that was a bit of an ontological shock that I had to deal with. And I think that in part led to this sort of, quote unquote awakening or just this shift in my own personal perception of the world,
Sure. Yeah. No, I consider myself a skeptical believer, and I always have, and probably always will. And it's just kind of which side it starts to tilt towards, more skeptical or more believer per topic. But listening to like fans or talking to people over the years, interviews, and hearing the same experiences around the world, and going back and looking, historical records, having those same experiences around the world. You're right. There's something there that, you can't close yourself off to it completely. I've talked to you brought up Penn. I've talked to Penn about ghosts and paranormal experiences, and he shuts me down immediately. Doesn't want to talk about it. It's not real. It's fake. It's crap, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, you can't be on that side of the spectrum. It's just as bad as being on the other side of the spectrum where everything is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's tough. It's a tough line to walk on.
Yeah, and the one thing is that, like, most people live on the one side where sort of nothing is real. Like, it seems that way, especially in the Western world. But what happens is that as soon as you fall a little bit onto the other side, most people get consumed entirely, and they just go off.
True.
And now it's a house party. They let everyone in, right? Yeah. And that's something I'm really trying to avoid, although tempting, because you're probably like me. We scroll at late night, going down these rabbit holes and being like, oh my God, do they really have bases on the moon? And all these things that sound fantastic and amazing, and when portrayed in a certain light, make sense and are able to convince you. But that's the whole point of this journey for me of Area 52 is, feet on the ground. I want to touch grass. I want to get out there and I want to see what it's about, what all the fuss is about. And I see a lot of channels on YouTube and a lot of TV shows and this and that, just kind of rehashing what we already know.
Exactly.
And for me, it was really, really important to get out there and experience it personally. And because that's the only way that I'll know for me if it's true. And then documenting that journey for my audience, I think, helps show them what it is I'm going through versus me just telling them what is and what isn't. I'm giving them the facts and I'm going through it. And this is just how I feel about it. This is my own personal journey. So that's kind of how I treat it. But I also am a big fan of, X-Files, Unsolved Mysteries and all that. That was my childhood. So, this is an opportunity for me to cinematically create this little world as well, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing is that's what I like about your show is, again, it's very conversational. You're not trying to prove a point. You're talking to somebody and they might be proving a point and you're listening with an open mind, but at the end of it, you don't have to believe it. And you're forthright in saying, like, I don't know about that one, but I believed everything else, or the evidence points to the rest of it.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to this out of body stuff, like the remote viewing is a little bit more black and white, because you can put something in an envelope and then remote view it, and then it either hits or it doesn't. So it's very easy to measure. But when it comes out of body experiences, it becomes a little nebulous because a lot of the experience is internal. Yeah. And that's just something we can't practically measure yet. And so it does become a sort of, you got to kind of like take it on faith that what I'm saying happened to me, I guess. Right. And which is fine. And that's the nature of this specific phenomenon, is that maybe, it wasn't meant to be measured. And that's just kind of like the beauty of it as well. And I'm enamored by it. I enjoy it. And I like what it did to me. So, for me, that's just something I wanted to share with people.
Did that change? Was that change noticeable to your friends first or to you first?
Definitely to me first. Yeah. It's like my friend Sean Webb, who was also there. He has a book called Mind Hacking Happiness, a great book. He's got 3 books out, but basically he received this download, and this will be on episode 2, which is airing tonight. But he received this download, apparently, where he was given the solution to solving pain and suffering. And took years of his life to write these books that he had no business writing, that he had no, previous accolades supporting, this type of research. And what happens is that the people at MIT were like, yeah, you're the first person to crack this code, basically. And, he started working with Navy SEALs and all sorts of things. That's a really interesting story. But in that is, this sort of when you have a shift in perception of the world, it's like the foundation, right? So this is something you're raised with, and our entire lives, everything up here is stacked upon your perception of the world,
Yeah.
right? And so as soon as the perception of the world shifts even a little bit, you have to rearrange all these things by priority, by which is important to me. Does this even matter? Because suddenly things you thought you had figured out and were very well organized in your mind and compartmentalized, and you never even gave it thought of, now have to be sort of looked at again and reorganized. So it's kind of like taking your bookshelf and throwing all the books on the ground and then starting over to place the books back. The shelf is still there, but it's just changed where it is. So now I got to place all these books back, and do I place them alphabetically, or do I place them in how much I enjoyed reading them? And so this is kind of how it affects your life afterwards. And I've been, in the last month or two, still unpacking and processing, because I obviously don't want to throw everything out the window and be like, oh, this is me now, because that sounds insane too. So it's, there was a point where I got back and I was very much still in that feeling, and we're warned about that. They're like, don't make any life decisions in the next 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you're definitely you're in this weird buzzing, flowy, fuzzy state. And so afterwards, yeah, you kind of have to process that. Now that, my left brain's kicking back into gear a little bit, and I'm looking at the things that mattered to me prior, and suddenly it doesn't make sense that I put them in the same order of priority than I did before.
Yeah, I think it was a shock to a lot of the fans of your YouTube channel, the puzzle channel, when you said it wasn't as high a priority. And I'm sure I'm going to misquote you, but the stuff that's collecting dust is not as prioritized for you anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
That is a huge shift in a lifestyle, and for you, a living. You worked really, really hard and doing high quality videos and building up all of this content for you to now go, maybe that's not what I need to be focused on right now. Like that, how scary was that for you to broadcast to the world? Like, hey, I'm starting to reprioritize.
Yeah, it was definitely scary to broadcast the world, but it is something that I have given thought in the past year and a half. So this isn't something, and maybe that's something that came across didn't come across in the video, but this wasn't. I didn't just come back from this retreat, fire everybody, and say I quit my job and I'm starting a new life, because that does sound like a midlife crisis. This has been a year and a half of sustaining something that I really didn't enjoy. And the people around me, specifically the people that work for me, really knew this, because I was very vocal about it. This is more of a machine now that we got to keep going, and we got to keep sort of, and there's parts of it that I do enjoy. The creative parts were very enjoyable, but it comes a time where you have to just keep putting things out, and you have to keep buying things so that you can showcase them. And it's just kind of nonstop. And then what happens when, views start to diminish because of the saturation of the platform itself, you're forced to either, I guess, buy more, do more, make twice as many videos. And eventually it just becomes insanity. And everybody knew that around me, and they knew exactly what was happening. It wasn't a surprise really to anyone. And that's another thing, is that, it wasn't that much of a shock to anyone around me. They knew me very well, and this has been on my mind for a very long time. But it's just something that I wasn't ready to share with the world quite yet, because I wanted everyone to be taken care of.
I love
first
that.
and foremost, to all my employees.
Yeah.
They were, it's friends and family that work for me, and I talk to them every day. So I did want to make sure that everyone was very well taken care of, and I made sure of that. I made sure that I had enough aside to do that before it got to the point where I didn't have enough aside, and then we'd all be in the same boat together. So I really, that was above all my main priority. And now, it's just more of, okay, let's reassess what's important. What do we like doing? What do we enjoy? What can we do realistically versus what needs to be done? And I'm having a good time just kind of sitting back and taking one thing at a time, and observing it, enjoying it, and not thinking too far ahead, not thinking back at all. So
You know what? I think that's the way to do it, is to be in the present. Because, like doing this show, I've done like over 300 episodes, and, something I've been working on since like 2017, 2016. And, it's my own little piece of the internet, but it can become daunting. I've got to get another episode out. I've got to get more content out. I've got to get more focused on social media. And I'm just like, all right, I'm focusing on the wrong things. I started this because I like the topics. I like talking about it. It's what I talk about anyway when I'm at a party or a date or whatever. So like I had to like reevaluate that in my own little world. So I can't even imagine doing it in your, amplified world, like where you have an audience and have people under you that depend on you. What do you hope that people get out of, or what do you hope that you get out of Area 52?
Yeah, I've been fascinated by the unexplainable since I was a child, since I was a literal baby. Like, when I was born in Germany, near the Black Forest, near the Rhine, and
Oh, wow.
it was like the town that I was born in was like I don't know, 1,500 years old, and the same families live there now today. And it's like, there's a lot of that, the Brother Grimm stories. That's where they come
Yeah.
from. So I was
Yeah.
raised on those sort of grim stories, and not the Disney versions. And so
Dark ones, yeah.
yeah, the ones where, like Cinderella, the stepsisters cut their heels off to like fit in the shoes, and that's what I was raised on. So there was always talk of like witches too, like were 900 years ago in the village where I was born in. There's like a field beside that village, and they used to burn witches there actively 900 years ago. So there's a lot of lore, local lore and story, and ghost stories, and this and that, and sightings and paranormal activity or what have you. And so being raised there, and then for me, I remember Unsolved Mysteries
Oh, yeah.
was like, as a kid, hearing these events are based on a true story. Like for me, that like, oh, this is real then.
Yeah.
Like there was no way that I could, research if this wasn't real. For me as a kid, you were telling me this is a true story, then I believe it. And
Here's
so
an adult's telling you it's real. Yeah.
Exactly. So as a kid, I was like, okay, aliens are real, ghosts are real, like all these things are real. And so that's just kind of like the mindset that I've always had. So going forward, I mean, for me, it's documenting my journey through the paranormal and my fascination with the paranormal, and B, having a creative outlet is something I need as a creative person. I thrive when I'm thinking of how to be creative. It really, really gets me up in the morning, and it keeps my gears turning in my head. So, as much as I'm fascinated by a UFO sighting, I'm equally fascinated by, how can I present this in a way that really resonates with people, and think about that cinematically and from a producer and a director standpoint. So that, I mean, it just kind of encompasses all of my interests, which feeds my soul, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You know what? That the fact that you said witches, that's the one episode that I've been trying to battle with for 300 episodes, because I can't find the through line. There's so many different ways you can go with witches that I start to scattershot it, and I can't ever organize it in a way where I can present it the way I want to present it on a podcast. So that's a tough one. I'm letting you know right now, but I'm eager to see if you can do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to tackle it either, but
I don't blame you.
I went to Germany a few years ago, and there was this town I was in. They had like this cellar door, these metal doors, and they still had the original sign there that said like a witch prison, basically, and where they would hold them before they drag them around the city on horse. I would say, like, my advice would be, if you're going to tackle that at all, maybe do it by year. So like from this year to this year, do that, like break it up into years, because it's such a, and years and also areas, because I mean,
That's
all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. And see,
like,
that's exactly it. I go, all right, well, I'll just focus on Just New England, and there's too much there. All right, so New England, it's too much there. All right, just the 1800s, too much there. You know, like
you gotta
that's
go
why.
back. You gotta go.
Yeah,
You gotta go further back. That's like werewolves, though. Werewolves, I feel,
Oh,
is
yeah.
the same thing. You know, you can have, there's stories in Latvia. There's stories
Oh,
all
yeah.
spread across, Europe, and
Every
it
indigenous
was
peoples have a werewolf type creature.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
over here with the skinwalker, et cetera. And then,
Dogman in Michigan. Yeah, it's funny because like when I started this podcast forever ago, people are like, "Well, you're going to run out of things to say in like one episode." No, not even remotely.
I had people tell me that as well, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm
Oh.
like, "There's thousands of stories out there, personal sightings that no one's ever heard of, too."
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and that really gets me excited.
That's the thing that I love. I love, like, sure, I love the Betty and Barney Hills of them. Fantastic story, fantastic documented evidence, but the smaller stories, the personal ones, the ones that people aren't going, like when I do a paranormal investigation, I like to go to a place where not a million people have done a paranormal or a ghost investigation, a ghost hunt on, because that's already been done. Those ghosts are bored as people just as much as people are bored with listening to it. So yeah, I'm the same way. What are your feelings on UFOs or UAPs? Are they ours? Are they extraterrestrial? Is it one? Is it many?
I've had sightings.
That was gonna be my next question. Okay.
Yeah, I filmed a few of them, which is interesting. But they're of different types, each one. My first sighting I was on a plane going to Germany, actually, and it was an overnight flight. And it was about 4 in the morning. We were 30,000 feet over the Atlantic. And I remember just getting up and sort of like opening the window and looking out, kind of like this, because it's, and I see in the clouds, I see maybe a dozen sort of like orange orbs illuminating the clouds below, like almost like there's like, instinctively I thought, in this weird daze that I was in because I was coming out of sleep, I look at this and I'm like, oh, it must be some type of oil rig or something down there. And that's because like my brain's trying to make sense of what I'm looking at. And I'm like, and I keep looking until it's out of sight. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I go back to sleep. And the next day I'm like, wait a second. I was over the Atlantic Ocean. I would not be able to see any lights if they were on the surface of the water, period. And these were in the clouds. And so that was a sighting in retrospect. I was like, whoa, and I didn't take a picture of these. I literally thought it was something explainable.
Yeah.
That was the first sighting. I had a sighting when I went to, I think it was California. We flew over Nevada, and I caught a Tic Tac on video. And
nice.
Yeah, I posted it to Reddit. It got to the front page of Reddit because it's a giant pill basically that I filmed from the airplane. It was quite a long video too, like 2 minutes of it just kind of going by.
Wow.
I had a sighting of a black triangle close to my house. Yeah. So
wow.
and multiple people saw it, and very low, no noise, which freaked me out. I got out of the car to look at it, and there was no noise, and it just kind of like quickly, and I filmed like the tail end of it, so you kind of see the tail end of it. And turns out around these parts, which is like northern Quebec, there are a lot of black triangle sightings, over 250 reported sightings between here and like North Bay. And so a lot of activity, pictures, videos, personal accounts. People have seen it 20 feet away. Like, and so that's something I've been investigating actively for a while now. And I've got a lot of stuff on the back burner for that. But yeah, when it comes to whose are they, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I personally, and I've spoken to some people who've worked pretty deep on this stuff in government, whatever. And one thing that I was told is that they're probably not ours. And the reason for that is because with technology so sensitive, so expensive, so absolutely earth-shattering, they would never take a chance to fly it anywhere except those military bases.
Exactly.
They would take it out of the hangar, lift it up off the ground, do some tests, maybe at night, put it back down, and back in the hangar she goes. They
Yep.
would never fly it over the ocean. They would never fly it over land anywhere. They would never in a million years do that, because if there's even a small chance that that thing goes down, then I mean, all hell breaks loose.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there is no way that we're manning these crafts. That is for sure. Do we have some in our possession? Potentially. And you know, I believe Bob Lazar for one. So
Oh yeah.
I do think we are reverse engineering them through, you know, these programs. But yeah, I don't think that we're zipping them around willy nilly. And yeah, I think that would be a stretch. But are they even manned? I don't know. You know, that's
the thing. Like, are the Tic Tacs even manned? Maybe they're the drones. Like, you know, you go again, it's this rabbit holes that you go down. A buddy of mine that was on my show forever ago, he was actually in the Navy on the ship when the Tic Tacs were watched for a while going into the ocean, coming out of the ocean. And he was a hardcore skeptic until that moment. Mm-hmm. And then when his superiors were like, nope, you didn't see that. Delete that video, delete this, don't talk about it. And he never talked about it until the Tic Tac video came out and word came out. And it was like, all right, you're not going to get killed for talking about it. And he's like, yeah, I'll do your show, but you're not going to say my name. So, you know, it's still that there's still a stigma that stops people from reporting them. Cause I think there'd be even more reports if that stigma went away completely. But I agree that they're not flying them over populated areas so everybody can get a photo of them, you know, if it is indeed ours, if it is indeed the government's. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got, you know, essentially nothing to lose by talking about them, you know, so we can report on them. We can dig as deep, we can name names, we can do all the things, talk about them on camera. But if you're working for EG&G or Lockheed or Raytheon, you know, and these private corporations, like, you sign contracts.
Oh yeah.
They're responsible for your well-being, for your pension plan.
Pension, yeah.
All this stuff that's being, you know, held over your head. Of course you're not going to speak. Of course you're going to keep it to yourself. But throughout the years, as we've seen, you know, and if you look close enough, you get a lot of people that definitely were in positions of power.
Oh yeah.
Within these.
Uh-oh. I lost Chris. Everybody watching, I lost Chris. Hopefully he'll pop back up.
That was getting a call.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep. We're good.
I can't seem to hear you here. Hold on.
All right.
I lost sound. Talking. The government's on me.
Damn it. We've done it. We've gone too far. Been right in the middle of it every time. Nothing?
Yes, we're good.
Oh, sweet. All right. It's always something right in the middle.
Hey,
there.
Look at that.
I was just saying, what just happened? That was amazing.
That's a double thumbs up.
I love it. Absolutely. I had no idea that.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, we were talking about the government or something, and then my phone shut off.
Yeah, exactly. That's always the way. That makes it a good episode. Well, let me. We were just talking about how the government probably has them. Yeah.
That's definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, you know, there's far too many people in positions of power, and people, you know, that have come out of the woodworks that work for a lot of these private corporations that have said the same things over and over and over with nothing to gain. That is the clear denominator here, that, you know, the only thing that is happening to a lot of these people is that their lives are getting worse.
Yeah. Everything to lose, nothing to gain, like you said. Yeah.
What kind of incentive is that to talk about crazy stuff like UFOs? It's not a very good one. Your family probably hates you. Your friends probably don't want to talk to you. You're not going to get hired elsewhere. You might be in danger. You're going to get ridiculed online. Like, it doesn't seem like it makes any logical sense to talk about these things and make them up. Yeah.
No, it's true. Like, even Grush with the Senate hearings, he got death threats, and like you said, people just ridiculed his entire career, and he's a decorated. It's ridiculous. It bums me out, but it's those. The one thing that I like are these deathbed confessions of the people that worked in the government in the 40s and the 50s, where they're like, screw it, I'm dying anyway. What are you going to do to me? I'll be out of the door in a minute anyway. And those are the ones that I really take a lot of credence to and really like to deep dive those. And
That's a
another
good
thing
point.
to what you were saying, another thing is, if the information's out there, and I think you even said it on one of your episodes, it's not easy to find. Like if you go to the CIA's website, trying to find stuff even about like Joe McGonigal's experiences, they don't make it easy, and they make it the most boring, mundane thing to. I mean, you're reading about Mars 1 million BC. Take it with a grain of salt, but Mars 1 million BC remote viewing, and they make it so dry to read that you really got to go in deep to find it. That I understand why none of this stuff gets out as loud as it gets out.
And even Joe McMoneagle said that, when they said they declassified the remote viewing, that wasn't entirely true. They declassified maybe 40% of it and took all of that work, shuffled it together, and then put it on the database. They deliberately did that to, discourage people from going to look for it. And, all the juicy stuff was left out. Even out of the 505 missions that the remote viewing program was a part of through 17 of the 19 intelligence agencies, out of all of that, almost none of them are declassified.
Yeah.
Because these are sensitive pieces of information that they cannot declassify. So yes, they declassified that the program was real and some of the studies that were on it, but the actual use of it remains classified to this day, even to the remote viewers. And that's something that maybe I didn't make very clear in the videos, is that, they were very rarely, like 99.9% of the time, they were not told whether it was accurate or not, that their readings hit or missed. They weren't told anything. They were not allowed to know anything. It was double blind. They would do their session. Somebody would grab the session and leave, and they would go to whatever agency asked for that session, deliver that information, and lo and behold, the agency came back for a new mission. And that, therein lies the intrigue, where like these people, they don't know if they're right or wrong. They're just doing what it is they feel, they perceive. They're just writing things down. And these other agencies are coming back dozens and dozens and dozens of times with new missions. I mean, that to me just sounds like, okay, yeah.
Now I think you talked about it on maybe the Debrief podcast, about getting some of Joe's videos digitized or out there. Is that something you're still working on?
Yeah, the difficult part is that I have to go down to Virginia to do that because, I definitely want it to be done. I'm working, I've emailed Scooter about it, Joe's wife, who, she was the director of the Monroe Institute at one point, and she has them all, but she obviously doesn't want to send them through mail and risk them being, I don't know, lost. So the idea is that, ideally I'd go down there and spend some time and just do it over there. And if I don't do it, someone I think will have to do it, because there's a little bit that you can find online, but a lot of those cases, especially the ones about the missing people, that's just really fascinating. It just shows you, how precise Joe is with these things. It's absolutely incredible. It's unbelievable.
It blows my mind, especially now that, for a while there, I've read a ton of books on remote viewing, watched a billion YouTube videos on how to do it. And honestly, it's because of you. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to do 30 days online. I'm going to show people. If I get it right, I get it right. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. And, obviously I don't know what I'm doing. He's experienced. He knows what he's doing. But the details that he did in his drawings blows my mind.
Yeah. He's a different breed. I mean, everybody who's come across his work, like even just him getting into the program itself, they had him do 6 tests, and he had 5 first place matches out of 6. Now there are 4 places of matches. 4th place is like if the target's a bumblebee and I draw a dinner plate, that's a 4th place match. A 3rd place match, if the target's a bumblebee and I draw an insect, okay, that's a 3rd place match. 2nd place match is, okay, the target's a bumblebee, I draw a wasp. first place match is if I draw a bumblebee and it's also to scale.
Yeah.
He had
yeah.
5 first place matches out of 6 where you could lay these papers one over the other. You know, like it's incredible.
That again, that just blows my mind. Do you've done remote viewing and you've shown your training or your daily tasks. What tips or tricks can you give to help someone do it? Because I know that they say anybody can do it. It's just a skill. It's like learning how to play guitar. You got to practice. But are there any tips or tricks that seem to help you with your remote viewing?
Yeah. So it is a skill and it isn't at the same time, the way that I was taught. Some people, like the Ed Dames sort of school, believe that it's something you can train and get better at. And other people like Joe McMoneagle, and Ed May as well, believe that we all have this ability innately and it's way deep down suppressed. Some of us have a better natural ability. It's kind of like, we can all shoot a basketball, but there's only LeBron James that can do what LeBron James does.
Yeah.
And that in the same kind of respect. So we all have a bit of this ability that we can definitely enhance, but it'll cap out eventually.
Sure. Has yours capped out?
Yeah. I've seen, I've done it a whole bunch and I've seen some really incredible results and some of them better than others, but it's, I'm nowhere near as consistent as Joe is. Joe will have a highly, highly accurate reading 20% of the time. And when I say highly accurate, I mean like the exact thing with nothing wrong. Like all the adjectives, all the things are all correct. Everything's correct 20% of the time. He will, and that is absurd. That's it.
Yeah.
For people thinking that's not a lot, like
no, that's a lot.
It could be anything in the universe. It's a lot of things to choose from. So to better prepare yourself to doing it, I would say clear your mind, get into a place that you can relax. Since meditating, I found that my remote viewing results have been more accurate and more clear. Yeah, definitely. So quieting the mind is number 1. Number 2 is knowing what not to pursue and what just to kind of when you perceive things, it could be anything, right? So it doesn't have to be visual. It doesn't have to be, it could be sound, it could be touch, it could be smell, it could be texture, it could be feeling, like emotional feeling. It could be like, like this, the feeling you get when you grind your nails on the chalkboard. That's a feeling. It's not necessarily a sound. It's like so there are a lot of things that you have to open up for when doing this, because you're really perceiving whatever this is, this information is, right? So it's not solely about trying to look and see something. It's really about perceiving in every sense of the word and whatever's coming to you. Yeah. And don't filter anything out. Don't try to make sense of things. Just write it down, almost as if your hand's just writing things down. You just go with it. Just go. And if you're getting something a little too clearly, write it down, get it out of your head, and keep going. Because usually those things are wrong. That's just your mind.
Okay. I'm doing that wrong then, because when I started to do that, where I'm like, oh, it's an airport. That's too specific. Stop. I'm overthinking, and I stop myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
write it down, get it out of the way, get it out of your mind, and keep going. And if it keeps showing up, then maybe it is something, but normally it's just your imagination. The other thing I would say is don't close your eyes when doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
Closing your eyes invites imagination.
Yep. Yeah. I noticed that the first time I did it. I was like, and I'm trying to do Zen when I don't know Zen, and meditate when I don't know meditate. And I'm like, I'm just imagining, Pee Wee Herman. That's not what I'm supposed to be drawing. I did it wrong. Yeah.
And the more you do it, here's how it does help you, which is really cool, is that like sometimes when you're perceiving things, some things come in very strongly. For some reason or another, the strongest hits that I've had, I remember feeling very strongly about the perception of the thing, being like, like a knowing almost, like I know this is right. And it's not a confidence thing. It's not like a fake it till you make it thing. It's a deep knowing, like you're like, this is absolutely right. And you just know that. So those feelings you tend to, over time, the more you do it, you can now train yourself subconsciously to recognize those.
Interesting.
Because you have the results, right? So you can look back and be like, oh, when I had that feeling, that's what it felt like when this was correct. And by doing it over and over and over and over, you start understanding that there's a pattern to the way that you're perceiving things and to the way that you're feeling about these perceptions. And then when those happen, you're able to identify them and be like, with more confidence, know that this is something, that this is strong. So in a way, practicing does help, but only in sort of training your subconscious to realize what it is you're perceiving.
I like that. That is honestly the clearest instructions that I've had yet. And like I said, I've read books, I've gone online, I've tons of websites, I've all the YouTube videos, and it seems to be a jumble of things, but that was very clean and concise. So, I mean, honestly, thank you. Speaking of Major Ed Dames, did your opinion on him, and I'll even include Uri Geller, did your opinion on them change at all because of Area 52 and your interviews with them?
I didn't know Dames prior. I had no idea who he was. I knew that he was a controversial figure in the remote viewing space.
Yeah.
And, I found out that he wasn't a remote viewer at Stargate. He was a tasker.
I didn't know that. When I heard that on your show, I was like, oh, that makes way more sense.
Yeah. So there is, you'd like you to believe otherwise, it seems. It would seem. But the truth is, he's a really stand-up guy. He's a nice guy. Yeah, he's super nice. We went out for dinner, me, him, and Nelson, and had some drinks, and he loosened up. And he's a funny guy. He likes to entertain people and hold court. He's got stories for days. He's got a really quirky personality. But a lot like most of the people in this space, and I would include Joe McMoneagle in this as well, sometimes the stories are embellished.
Sure.
And even in Joe's behalf, and Ed May, even said that. He voiced that when I interviewed him. He's like, take everything with a grain of salt. A lot of it is romanticized because of the natural psychology that happens here when you tell a story 1,000 times over, over decades.
Sure.
It tends to lean into something that becomes more entertaining than it was. And that is, you can't blame that on anyone. That's just how things progress, how stories are told. You want to gather people's interest. So it just kind of does that naturally. It isn't on purpose. It's just the way. It's kind of like, rocks getting smoothened out in a river.
I like that. Yeah.
It's kind of the way the stories happen, right? So that isn't their fault. So go in, look at that with that in mind. And I always tell people, if you don't believe it, look at it as fiction and you'll be equally as entertained.
Oh, sure. Oh, no. Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah.
You have no reason to not be entertained by this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I knew about him. Oh God. Yeah. I knew about, Ed Dames when I did a lot of research on it years ago, and I came to a conclusion, which I shouldn't do. And I try not to do now. When anybody that calls in, if I do a live show and people call in, whatever they tell me, I'm going to go down that road with them. And I'm going to assume that what they're telling me is the truth. And I think that's the better, that's the more Art Bell way of doing things, which is why I do that. But it's tough with Uri Geller and even Ed for me personally, because of, like you said, like earlier, James Randi, like Amazing Randy, or even Johnny Carson's, their opinions on Uri Geller and some of the stuff that he pulled on Johnny Carson's show made me come to a conclusion about him.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are things that, Uri Geller did do that was very impressive.
Sure.
And one of which was documented was, telling someone across the world what they had on their desk and this type of stuff. So whether or not Uri Geller, can really bend spoons, You know, that's maybe up for a magician to
Yes.
argue. You know, the other funny thing about that too is that, like, even at the Monroe Institute, they have a course on spoon bending. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a whole dedicated thing on how to bend spoons. And this was brought up. I didn't mention this at all. But this was brought up at lunch a few times with the trainers, because they mentioned spoon bending. I mentioned Uri Geller, and you know how much I'm like, spoon bending. I can bend a spoon. I can make it look like whatever. And they're like, oh no, but it's real, you know. And then they mentioned Uri Geller, and I was like, no, like Uri Geller. I know how he does these things, right? I know how he does these things. But they proceeded to tell me, and then all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 people around me, like, no, I took the course, and we all bent spoons, and we all did it, right? And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And so yeah, apparently they have a course that is spoon bending that everybody can do, and everybody's twisting spoons and forks and silverware. I still remain skeptical. I'm still a big skeptic with this stuff. But again, instead of being, you know, keyboard warrior about it, I'm gonna probably take the course and see if it's real, and if it isn't, you know, that's just, well, because I think that's the whole point here. I've had so many people tell me I'm wrong in the comments, and like, you're just an armchair warrior. Like, get out there and try it. Go sign up for this course. See if it's real or not. Like, that's the only way you're gonna know. And so that's, you know, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. I'm like, yeah, okay. And that's why I interviewed Uri Geller in the first place, because a lot of people would dismiss Uri and Ed James, for that matter, immediately before anything. And I'm like, well, if you want the whole story, you can't listen to just the half truths. You got to listen to everything, you know, that everybody says, and then make your own decisions. And you know, I was honored that Uri took the call, first of all, because he is a legend. He's and he was so nice. And the dude's 77 years old and sharp, you know, sharp as a tack, just so quick. You know, so obviously, you know, on the call with Uri, there is he do the spiel. He does his whole tour all the time. So again, he's an entertainer. But the fact is that
Uh-oh, did I lose you? I might have lost you.
I think I lost you there.
Oh, there we go. We're back. Yeah, you were saying
that you're back.
He gave you the tour, and yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. So he gave me the tour and all this stuff, but then, like, yeah, the fact is that the CIA did recruit him because they were looking for natural psychics, just like Ingo Swann, just like a lot of natural psychics. Turned out it wasn't a fit for the same reasons all the other natural psychics, except for Ingo Swann, weren't a fit, was because they didn't want to comply with protocol.
Yep.
That was the reason. It wasn't because he was lying. It wasn't because he was tricking them, and perhaps he was. But the point is that none of them wanted to adhere to protocol. And for the CIA and the government, that was the most important thing for Joe McMoneagle, for everybody. The protocol exists for a reason. It is like the scientific method. It's there for a reason, so we can study this phenomenon.
You know what?
I'm not taking away anything from Uri. He is he's an incredible entertainer, but above all, he's captivated the entire world and gotten us all to argue whether or not what he's doing is real. And I can't name another magician on the planet who's that effect on people, because we all know Copperfield does illusions. Somehow we're still arguing about whether or not Uri Geller is actually psychic and bending spoons. So I think he's a fascinating character regardless.
Oh no, 100%. He definitely fascinates me. And you're 100. That's the best way of putting him, is that, you know, people are still debating. So that's got to say something. I mean, I've been to the Magic Castle. I've watched people bend spoons. I just had a couple of friends over at my tiki bar the other night, and we were talking about you, actually, and I was talking about Area 52, and they were shocked to find out that an established magician such as yourself would ever delve into any of these topics other than it's fake, and let me show you how it's fake. It's tough.
That's the trajectory, though. I think that's the arc. The arc is, you know, in any natural progression to you know, to whatever book you're reading or to whatever movie you're watching, like there's an arc, right? There's a progression for the protagonist to start his journey have these revelations, be one side, realize there's another side, come back, and then you realize, oh, the villain is the good guy in the end, or whatever that is, right? There's that natural arc, and most magicians just stop, and they're like, I have all the answers of the entire universe figured out because I can trick people with a $30 gimmick. That's not how, and most magicians, and this is, I've gotten flack for this in the past, but it is true. A lot of magicians learn magic to break out of their shell, to meet people, to become, extroverted a little bit more. And then when they did that, receiving all sorts of praise, all sorts of, accolades and praise from their peers or from people they admired, all of a sudden, magic becomes their personality. It becomes their holy grail. It becomes their everything. Yep. So for someone like me to even teach a magic trick is threatening to their personalities, to their entire character. I'm attacking who they are, because take the magic away and what are they left with? Not much. And that is the truth. A lot of magicians' entire personalities are based on the magic that they do, which is why they get so startled and scared when somebody's teaching a simple magic trick.
Sure.
And it's for the same reason that when you start talking about all these other phenomena like ESP and all this paranormal stuff, they would rather, they're on like the wrong end of the Dunning-Kruger curve right now. They're on this end. They haven't reached that arc yet. Of course, this can be bullshit, but hey, why don't you come to that conclusion yourself rather than just listening to someone and that, a lot of these guys like, oh, so or he came to that conclusion through his life, through his journey. Maybe your journey will be different. Like, what are you doing? Why are you stopping now?
No, that's very true. And I like the fact you brought up Houdini, because that was another big one. Yeah. That is very true, that like, the more I find, like, I call out bullshit. I try to debunk stuff on my show, but what I'm left with, once that bullshit's out of the way, there's still a lot of stuff that I can't explain, that science can't explain. And that's the stuff that fascinates me. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I want to interrupt. I was just going to say, like, science has come, we all know this. There's been a separation in science and spirituality.
Yes.
Pardon me. Over the last 300 years. Prior to that, for thousands of years, and here's a real doozy. It's like for thousands of years, science and spirituality were synonymous. They were one and the same. And, you have shamans or witch doctors or seers or whatever it was. It was psychic people, and they were the person you listened to for thousands of years. And then all of a sudden, we started staring down a microscope and through a telescope, and we started separating the spiritual side with science. And if you liked one, you couldn't like the other. You were excommunicated, or you were disbanded, or you were whatever from one another. And I think we're getting to a point where we're starting to realize that to fully understand one, you need both. To fully, there are things, I think, when you look down a microscope, you go from whatever it is, this physical reality, you look down a microscope and now you can see molecules, right? You can see, and then you look down molecules, you can see particles. And then you look down particles and you can see, subatomic particles, and they keep going down and down. Now they're finding quarks and you go down the God particle. You can go down, but eventually they find nothing. And the nothing is a something, and the nothing has a role. And we know the nothing is there because we can measure it. We just can't see it. We can't hold it. We can't define it. We don't know what it is. But we know that the universe is made up of it. And, through quantum physics, we're now like frustrated because we've stared down the strongest microscopes and slammed together all these particles. And there's still this nothing that we can't really access. And wouldn't it be amazing if the only way to access it was through your own mind? Wouldn't it be amazing if the only way you can go below what a microscope can see is through meditation and sort of transcend that physical reality, quite literally, and
Yeah.
get down there and observe what the universe is made of, and you can't actually hold it, but you can only perceive it. Like, this is the instrument, this is the microscope.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I like to see the two, science and spirituality, come together, is that maybe this is the tool we need to perceive the science. And you know, for that to be true, I mean, it would disrupt everything, because now
It
we're
really
dealing
would.
with
Yeah.
the human body, we're dealing with personality, we're dealing with all these different things. But I think, how interesting would it be if the missing factor to finding out, you know, what the universe is made of and why we're here is all internal? Like, that would just be so cool. That would be a nice
Are you
ending to the
kidding?
story.
Oh yeah, that would blow people's minds. That it would be like, well, fuck, I thought I knew everything. Now I know nothing, and we had to start all over. It is one of those things. Like, well, it actually kind of connects to the UFO phenomena, where people said you can't have UFOs, you can't have, like the government even said, you can't have UFOs, you can't have extraterrestrials because it'll break down society because of religion. And in the 40s, 50s, that might have been true. Now that's not true. I mean, you know, every poll, younger and younger people are saying, oh yeah, of course there's extraterrestrials. Of course there's life on other planets. So you're right. It is
Yeah.
changing. Yeah.
It is changing, but I definitely also do agree that, like, there is that part of me that's like, I like this. I want disclosure. I want to know personally. But at the end of the day, you know, this technology, if real, would destabilize our entire economy instantly. It would wreak havoc upon, you know, you wouldn't need FedEx anymore because everything could be teleported. You wouldn't
Yeah.
need, you know, all these businesses, everything that exists right now that keeps us running would cease to exist, because this other stuff existed. And if these vehicles, these crafts, are using some type of gravity, you know, gravity manipulation, I'm not smart enough to understand the physics of it, but if somehow you can manipulate gravity, I understand that attached to space is time.
Yeah.
And if you're manipulating space, you can essentially manipulate time. And I would think that that's a very dangerous thing for people to toy with. And
Time is the
so
one.
part
Yes.
of me doesn't want it to come out, because I don't think it's a good thing that we know what this technology actually is. And I think it's a good thing that we keep it secret. That's another part of me playing devil's advocate, where I'm like, you know, maybe, you know, you look at what's happening in the world. Like, do you really think we're ready for time machines and
No.
gravitational travel? And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're quite there, but I'm still going to look for it.
I don't want to keep you too much longer. I thank you for the time. But if you have a couple more minutes, I've got a couple of questions that I've always wanted to ask you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fire away.
All right. It's kind of shifting gears back over to puzzles. Probably not surprising. One of my favorite puzzles you ever did was Area 51. Blew my mind. Beautiful, incredibly built. The quality of the filming of it and the story that you did prior, absolutely incredible. My favorite episode. You don't get enough kudos for how well you set up your shots and film it. It is cinematic.
Thank you.
But oh yeah, no, of course. I know you're kind of separating yourself from, you know, things collecting dust, I think is how you put it. Please tell me you kept that, and obviously the John Lennon collection. He's my personal hero. So please tell me you kept those two, first of all.
Yeah, I've got the John Lennon collection and the UFO as well. I dismantled the hand scanner, and I took that part off, because I'm not going to solve this puzzle ever again. That's just the way it is. Like, these puzzles, they're like a one-time deal, and I don't want to give it to someone to solve. It was meant for a video. So now they're just kind of props, but I use those props, you know, for different filming reasons. And so that bone density scanner that was made for me during that video, I lent to my friend Luigi Venditelli. Luigi, who is doing Project Gravator with Bob Lazar right now. He's been working with Bob Lazar for 2.5 years on a documentary, and not only a documentary, an immersive experience going to be able to walk around the S4. They rebuilt it in Unreal Engine 5 and Blender, and I've gotten to see the progression of it. It's incredible. It's amazing. I highly encourage everyone to check out Project Gravator when this comes out. It's just going to be so cool. And there's going to be, hopefully a lot of new things that people didn't know, which is also really cool. But yeah, so I lent him the hand scanner because they're actually going to use that in the film to sort of base their models off of when they're creating this blend and whatnot. So it's cool that, like, the people made inspired by Bob Lazar that I used in the video that I made about Bob Lazar is now in the documentary with Bob Lazar. So it's kind of come full circle. So this is a great question. Awesome. This puzzle, yeah, it definitely lives on, not in the form of a puzzle, but in the form of something greater, I think.
That is awesome. I love hearing that. Have you ever looked into one of the shows I always kind of do every once a year is about treasure hunts. It's not paranormal, but I love treasure hunts. Have you ever looked into, like, On the Trail of the Golden Owl? Yeah. The Secret or On the Trail of Golden Owl. Have you looked into those? I think you'd be brilliant at those.
No, I've been Oak Island. I've been like knee deep in Oak Island for years.
Or Oak Island. My God. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause they've got such a way of, like, maybe the next episode, maybe that's when they finally find it. And it isn't.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler alert. Don't find it. Every time I just feel like they're really I definitely intrigued by these things, especially that whole national treasure fan. We need another. I don't know how we haven't gotten one yet. That is wild. Yeah. They left us on a cliffhanger. But all of these things, from the Holy Grail to the Ark of the Covenant to, I think all of these things are really, really interesting. Will I look into them eventually? I would say I would have to have some type of lead.
Sure.
To spark my interest further. I think I'd just be catching up on what a lot of people have already covered.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, I agree. But if you do like The Secret Treasure Hunt, that book, or on the Trail of the Golden Owl, that book, where they are puzzles, they do have solutions, they do have clues and solutions, and people have found stuff. That's where I think you would excel, in just my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I've delved down there a little bit. It's a little too vast for me. Just in terms of, like, even like I've looked at, like, the CIA, decoding that that cipher that they had, and there's a car company as well. I think it was a Bugatti or something. They put out like a crazy cipher that was in one of their cars too. So all these things are really cool. But I'm not as interested in those as I am in, like, the puzzle boxes themselves. I think there's something about the tactile puzzle solving that I enjoy more than the riddles. I enjoy seeing these mechanical objects move. I enjoy having a eureka moment and then feeling it physically as it gives. Like, there's nothing that can replace that. So although I do find them intriguing, and if someone were to document their process doing it, I would gladly watch. I think my talent and my interest probably lies more on the tactile stuff.
Sure.
But that being said, also Area 52, all that stuff, like, is real world puzzles that don't have solutions that I'm very interested in as well.
That's funny that you said that, because that's how I kind of encapsulated Area 52 was, this is the biggest puzzle you could ever try to solve. Like, and in any way, if you just look at just UFOs or just ghosts or just cryptids, this is the biggest puzzle that people have been trying to solve since we've been people. And it's the other side is the biggest unknown puzzle that Houdini even tried to solve. So you've set up yourself a huge task, but I honestly think that you, again, are one of the few people that I think could actually get us more solutions. Maybe not solve it all, but work your way towards a solution.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And, for me, it's more about, I'm solving this for myself, and documenting it. And I think that's a really important distinction. Whereas, if you look at something like Skinwalker Ranch series or like all these other shows, they're trying to solve it once and for all. And like, what's this thing? And I'm really trying to solve it for myself. Like, I'm always reminded of Fox Mulder in the X-Files, where, he's got to solve these cases. Scully being the skeptic, and they're kind of going in at it, and they got to solve, and they got to like close the book on these cases. But he's going through something the entire series. He's going through a personal, deeply, deeply personal quest, a journey that can't be fulfilled so easily by closing the case. It goes beyond that. It's a personal thing, and I think we all really resonate with Fox Mulder in that show, because I think we all have that personal journey within us. We all have that thing that just is never quite satiated, that's never quite fulfilled, that we keep on pursuing. And I'm more interested in that than uncovering the secret. And the secret is a side effect of what I'm doing. And that's kind of how I treat this. Like I'm looking to do my own journey, answer my own questions for my own sanity and my own purpose and my own reasons. Along the lines, of course, we're going to have things that, we're going to shed light on some things that perhaps weren't illuminated before. And we're going to perhaps stumble across something that is really interesting and might help solve a case or might help people believe or whatever that is, which is great. That is a side effect. What I'm really trying to do is just figure it out for myself.
You need that kind of passion. That's the passion that obviously keeps me doing this show with, again, I don't have a huge audience, but I mean, people around the world are listening to me, which blows my mind every time I think about it. And I'm like, okay, it's my passion and it seems to be their passion. And we kind of connected on these couple of topics. And that's what makes this whole thing fun to do and keep me doing it. I know the answer. You've pretty much said it throughout this entire chat that we've had, but I always ask this last question of all my guests. Do you consider yourself more of or less of a believer in the paranormal now than you would have 10 years ago?
I would say less.
Oh, wow. All right. Surprised. I got it
wrong. Only because I don't consider a lot of these things paranormal anymore.
Ah, nice. I like that.
So, when someone says psychic abilities, when I was 10 years ago, I would have been like that's paranormal, hogwash. Now I'm like, oh, you mean remote viewing? You mean remotely perceiving things through space and time, like they're studying at the CIA. So yeah, I would say I'm less of a believer in the paranormal, and it's shifting more towards reality. And with UFOs, now the government's talking about it. Before, this was all stories. Now all of a sudden it's real. So I would say less. I would say I'm beginning to understand that that this is just reality. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not part of some fictional reality. This is all just part of reality.
I love that answer. I talked to Dr. Travis Taylor, speaking of Skinwalker Ranch. I've talked to him a number of times. He hates the word paranormal, and I don't blame him for it, because it is kind of an outdated term, a catch-all of things we don't understand, and it has that stigma still. So that is a really, again, I'm surprised by your answer, but it made total sense based on this entire conversation. Chris, thank you so much for chatting with me. Honestly, man, this was a phenomenal. I knew it was going to be a great conversation. I've always respected your work, but it went beyond my dreams of how great this conversation was. So first of all, thank you. Please anything you want to promote, anything, like here's your chance. Where can people find you? All that fun stuff.
Well, first off, Kurt, thanks so much. You've done such a great job interviewing me. I think there's a reason why you've done so many episodes. You're really good at what you do. You got a great voice for this, and obviously a great passion. So I wish you all the best, all the luck, and whenever you want me back, I'm happy to come back here. This has been great.
Thank
you. As far as promoting, I would say, this helped me immensely. I'm trying to get Area 52 off the ground by hook or by crook. I'm doing it in any way that I can. I want to spread the word about these amazing topics that I'm coming across, and I just want people to question, what it is they believe, and to see whether or not, their resolve can be swayed in either direction. I think it's important to not have such a firm grip on reality, and to keep an open mind. So that's my quest, and I'm doing that through Area 52. So if anybody wants to come along for the ride, mainly on YouTube,
I will see what I mean. What a great guy. Again, I took up a big chunk of his Saturday, and he never dismissed a question, was very forthright with everything. Plus his tips on remote viewing, that's what I need. If you don't know that I'm trying to learn how to remote view. That's over on YouTube. Check it out. Paranormal Almanac on YouTube. I'm trying to learn how to, or actually I'm on the Patreon as well. I'm trying to learn how to remote view in the best possible way that I can do it. I can't, me personally, the woo-woo psychic stuff, metaphysical stuff, it takes me a little bit to get into. My mind always wants to go like, oh God, because I used to work at a place called Natural Wonders that sold rocks and crystals. And I talked to those people all day long. They were very nice. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. One of my favorite jobs, but it just brings me back to that headspace, this very spiritual headspace, where I would like to look at it from more of like the CIA way of doing it that you heard us talk about for a second there. The clinical way of doing it. I want to learn how to do it. If it is a skill that people can learn and improve upon, that's what I want to do. But also, as you'll see, if you watch my YouTube videos on me learning how to remote view, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So his tips were very great. They were great. I loved everything about this chat. Yeah, I don't know. Please go like and subscribe. Paranormal Almanac, Area 52, at Area 52 Investigations. Do yourself a favor, sit back and enjoy his work, and you'll see exactly why I loved his show so much and why I loved this conversation so much. Again, thank you to Chris. Honestly, you have an open invitation on the show anytime you want, or just email me anything you want me to promote and consider it done, man. 100% consider it done. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you again. Once again, I'm your host, Kurt Savig, and this has been another edition of Paranormal Almanac. See you guys next week.